It's Miss Laura with the Wichita Falls Arts Council. Today we're going to be doing a layered project in a kind of old style animation technique where we add to a landscape using transparent, clear plastic paper. So here's an example of the project. I'm going to zoom out. We have just a regular construction sheet or construction paper landscape. And then when we drop down our first transparency, we introduce a character. We have a snake here and some weather. And then we're going to drop down a second transparency. And now that we see that the snake is having a birthday. So just playing off of the layer that was put down before. A few more examples. In some previous classes, I started doing these potatoes. I think look really nice. So same thing, landscape looks a little bit different. The sky is blue here. I drop down the first transparency. Have a nice brown potato and a tree, some clouds. And then we drop down the final transparency and we have a ballet skirt and apples for the tree. And then one final one, and I'll show you guys how to get started. Again, slightly different landscape. Still the green grass, gray sky. We drop down the first of the clear layers. We have a nice pink potato and some blue clouds. Drop it down, clouds are raining, but the potato has an umbrella. So we're gonna need a few things to start this project. We're gonna need at least 3 full sheets of construction paper. So that's gonna be a green sheet, a blue sheet, and a gray sheet. We're all going to need at least 2 transparent plastic sheets. 2 of these are hard to see, but there are 2 here. We're going to need a pencil, a Sharpie for detail. This is optional. Small pieces of blue tape. So we need to stick things together that we can remove, and then some brad fasteners and a small hole puncher. Oh, as well as some type of glue. I'm just using a regular glue stick and scissors. No, I said it was an end. And just multiple scraps of different color paper. I have these scraps here that I'm going to be working with. It's a perfect project if you have a scrap bin. So I'm going to start with one item, and that is the green sheet of paper. Now that I have my green sheet of paper, I'm going to place it like this in front of me. So it should look exactly like it does in front of me here in a landscape view. And I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw a line going all the way across. It's okay, and it's maybe even better if your line isn't straight. I think a curvier line makes it a little more interesting. So I'm going to add a few curves. Okay, so there's my line going all the way across. And my line is somewhat close to the middle, but it's a little bit underneath. So you want to skew it towards one side of the paper. So maybe put your pencil in the middle, then drop down about an inch and start drawing your line all the way across. Okay. Once you finish drawing your line going all the way across your paper, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut on that line, dividing your paper into 2 pieces. Okay, and it's okay if you don't cut exactly on the line. That doesn't really matter here. So now I have 2 pieces of green paper after I've cut a line down the kind of the middle. Okay. I'm going to examine these 2 pieces and I am going to find the smallest piece, or the smaller of the two. So for me, this one on the right is much smaller than this one on the left. I'm going to keep the smaller one, and the larger piece is going to go away to the side. Okay. So now I just have my smaller of the two pieces. I'm going to hold that here because I'm going to use it. Okay. And now I have a gray and a blue paper left. And I am going to decide whether I want a light gray sky or a light blue sky. And so that choice is yours. So I'm going to go with gray. You can also choose blue. That is one of your two options here. And I'm going to place it in front of me. And then I'm going to place my strip of newly cut grass. And I'm going to line it up so that the bottom of the strip of grass, the straight edge here, and the straight edge of the bottom of my whole entire gray sheet of paper line up. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to glue this green strip of grass right here, right so the bottom edges meet up. Glue, get to the edge here. And I'm going to carefully place it on my large full sheet of gray construction paper. Trying to get those corners to line up and that bottom edge to line up as best as I can. Let me slide it a little bit. Okay. It's fine if it doesn't line up exactly. We're going to be doing a little bit of trimming. Just get it as close as you can. Okay, so my landscape portion, my setting, this is finished. This is all I'm going to be doing to this sheet. So now we're going to move on and add our next layers. And we're going to start with one layer, and we're going to go one layer at a time. So in order to add my first layer, I need to get it, hold it in front of me so that it's in the same orientation, it's facing the same way as my large construction paper underneath. You may notice that your transparency or your clear plastic sheet is a little bit smaller than your construction paper. So you're just going to line up the top. Okay. Don't worry about any of these other edges. The plastic sheet edge does not have to meet any of these edges. It just has to meet the top of your construction paper. At this point, I'm going to grab my pieces of blue tape. I'm just going to tear off little pieces. I don't need anything substantial. And I'm going to tape just this top edge in two places with blue tape. I'm going to tape these top edges together. So I'm putting a little bit of tape on the front of the plastic here, and I'm going to push it all the way over onto the back of the construction paper. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. 2 points of contact. Okay. And I'm going to fold this tape over as well onto the back of my construction paper so that my transparency is, again, free on the bottom, but taped at this top edge. Okay. Once my transparency sheet has been secured by these 2 pieces of tape to my construction paper landscape, I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to very carefully trace around my transparency sheet. So just tracing around the edge of that clear plastic sheet. And I'm going to trace all the way around it. And once I've traced all the way around my clear plastic sheet, I'm going to grab my scissors again, and I'm going to trim off the excess by cutting on that pencil line I just made. And we trace the line of pencil just so we could see it a little bit better and make sure that we're not cutting the transparency sheet, because it's a little hard to see because it is transparent. Okay, now we are ready to add to our first layer. So at this point, I encourage you to think of a character. So that could be a person, an animal, just some random object that has a personality, just some sort of character. So I've been using these potatoes, so I'm going to keep using these potatoes, but I just cut this out of another sheet of scrap construction paper. So if you need to draw something, like an apple or banana or a dog, you can draw something on construction paper, cut it out to create your character. And I recommend you keep it simple. So I've already pre-cut this. He's just a regular potato, and I'm going to put him over here in my landscape. And I like him there, so I think I'm going to glue him down. Now is also the time to start adding weather if you want to. I'm probably going to add a few clouds. I think they look nice. And then place my potato in the scene. Okay, they're just standing on the grass, doing as a potato does. I'm going to grab some, I think I have some white scrap of paper. I'm going to cut out some clouds. You can also use your blue or your gray sheet of paper, that whatever you had left after choosing your background color. So I'm going to do some clouds. I did some fluffy clouds earlier. I think I'm going to make some pill-shaped clouds. Because as we know, clouds can come in a lot of different shapes. Once I have all of my stuff ready, I'm going to go ahead and glue them down straight onto that plastic. You can always cut things out and then rearrange, lay them out. Oops. And then glue everything once you like how they look. Cloud going off a little bit, that's okay. One tiny cloud. Sit behind the potato. Okay. I'll give my potato a face. Okay, look how happy he is. It's a nice day. Okay, so I finished my first layer. I've introduced a character, I've introduced some weather. I think I'm probably going to introduce one more thing, and then we'll move on to the next step. I'm going to make a flower pot. Scissors. Okay, there's a flower pot over here. I'm going to add a flower on the next layer. Okay, so I have officially finished my first layer, and now I'm going to add my second layer. My second sheet of clear plastic, and this one should line up at least close to the size of what you have because we trimmed. Okay, and same thing, I'm going to grab 2 little pieces of blue tape. And like we did before, I'm going to tape just that top edge together, just so that my piece doesn't slide around and the placement stays correct. Okay, so I have a clear sheet on top of all the work I've done before. And so now I'm going to start adding things. So maybe in this flower pot, I have some more green paper. I'm going to add a flower. So I'm just going to cut. Make a stem. Add a leaf too. The leaf is basically a lemon shape. We'll have it going up. Okay, we'll do maybe like a red flower. This is a reddish orange scrap. Okay, let's cut a little wavy edge around an oval. And I think I'm going to give my flower a little center too. A little bit of yellow scrap here, cut a little oval. little bit smaller. Now I got to do something to my potato. So I did pre-cut a little table. So I'm going to take this table down to meet him. Got some legs for my table. There's the last leg. Okay, and there we go. We have a finished thing. We're almost done. Oh, actually, I have a lightning bolt here. I'm going to add in. Sorry, nope, not almost done. Let's just throw that in there. Right here. I'll put it here. That's fun, a little bit of action. Okay. So I finished my composition. Everything's where it needs to be. I do need to secure this though in a nice way. So after I find the glue stick cap, which is right here, let me put my glue away for a second. I have a small hole puncher here. Yours might be a different size. This one's super tiny. I'm gonna punch holes at the top. And I'm just gonna do two, and my hole puncher is really small, so I'm gonna have to punch a couple holes. And I'm doing this with all the tape still on it because I don't want my piece to move after I've done all of that work of making sure things layer right on top of each other. These brad fasteners, and I'm going to stick them through the hole here. And teachers with younger classes, you might want to help with this part. Okay, so I'm just going to fasten this, and then I'm going to very carefully take my blue tape off. And I also punched holes a little bit inside of where the blue tape is, just so I didn't have to contend with the fasteners while trying to remove the tape. Okay, and I'm being very gentle when I take off this blue tape because I don't want my paper to tear. All right, we're done. Landscape. Potato clouds flower pot. Got some lightning, a table, and a flower. Okay, thank you for joining me.